Sadiq, if you wanted to, oh, and Mike's back too.
Sure. Thank you very much, Junaid. It's been a pleasure and honor to be on this panel to discuss about smart transportation and mobility solutions. And I've been listening to your previous speakers and panel members as well. Great insight. I have got a lot of new information as well, and I like to thank you all the organizers for this wonderful event, for organizing it for a lot of people, I think, all across the world, I guess. With that, I'm a professional engineer, and with the background in intelligent transportation systems, smart cities, and safe and sustainable mobility solutions, you name it, like all these different traditional and non-traditional engineering related to traffic and transportation systems that I do provide service. I have experience of over 25 years working in private and public sector. I have also, had the opportunity to work in different parts of the world, including, North America, US, Canada, and Middle East, North Africa, and Southeast Asia. So I bring, a lot of comprehensive understanding and experience from all these places. As I said, I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, and I have certifications in advanced transportation management and municipal management and leadership. With that, I also work with a lot of academic institutions, and I work as a technical committee and working group member for different organizations such as ITS World Congress, ITS America, ITS Canada, ITE, we call it short form, which is Institute of Transportation Engineers, and Transportation Association of Canada, which is based in Canada. This is my introduction, and I'm very much looking forward to.
Well, thank you for that. It's very, very impressive. I don't have that many impressive things. That my introduction would probably be like 3 seconds long. Elliot, you're a pretty impressive person.
You probably saw me frantically writing after listening to that introduction. I'm clearly not as accomplished.
Great. So, Elliot, if you could talk a little bit about yourself, and then have Mike reintroduce himself, and then we've got a set of things we'd like your insight, especially since this is the last panel. It kind of is going to pull together some things. So Elliot, if you could share a little insight.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Passionate about business development. I've worked in technology for over 12 years now, starting with my first exposure to location-based services probably around 2007, when I was working down at Verizon in corporate digital marketing and corporate development. And it was super interesting, but ended up progressing through my finance degree, wrote my CFA, thought I was going to go into banking, but ultimately decided that I was really passionate about technology. And so I did a hairpin turn back to telecom at TELUS out of Calgary in the West. As a business analyst, and did some research analysis on the, quantifying the impact of operational and informational technology, installations across the footprint of TELUS's field force, so their field technicians. And then I got on the sales side of the house, and I sold integrated technologies for TELUS. Then I started my own telco with the ex-CFO of General Motors. Then I had an opportunity to join Capgemini as their North American business development executive, serving the communications and high tech space, where I got all kinds of great exposure to smart city, connected places, intelligent industry, effectively. And it was some of the coolest time of my life. And then I had to round it out with some partnership experience. And now I'm taking it all private practice, and I've been operating Grow Services technology management consulting company since June of 2019. Very grateful to be here amongst such a star-studded panel and facilitators. So I look forward to getting into it.
Great. And then Mike, if you could reintroduce yourself. And for those of you wondering, those servers in the background are actually not a fake Zoom background. We actually have, live servers. It's actually a live working facility. So Mike, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. So Mike Johnson, I'm the head of products for performance. And I guess I'll tell a little bit about myself. I grew up as a software engineer, went into program management, project leadership. I did business leadership for a while. Now I've landed on the head of products. So I kind of run the gamut of what I've done at Performance, really grew up. But what's been constant is our focus on aviation. So I have over 20 plus years of experience in aviation. And that's what I think we're gonna bring to the table today in this conversation today. And I look forward to it.
Great, great. So, as this is kind of our last panel session, after which we just have a kind of short closing thing, Sadiq, you've kind of heard, different panelists speak through the day. You obviously have a very broad background. You've been working in ITS. I'd really like kind of your insight, given what you do, what you've done professionally now for 25 years, and kind of what you've heard today on any your insight or glimpse of the future of how these large scale systems can help, or what we need to make sure that they do, so they do actually help. Because these large scale systems can go the other way. I mean, they can make our life better, but they can also make our life a lot more terrible. Given your background, both in the United States and globally, are there some insights that you would want the audience to really take away or focus on, or things that they should worry about?
Sure. So let me start from the very beginning. I mean, because I've been in ITS, since 1997, 98. And so I've been working on many projects. And let me give you a little bit of background of, the ITS, which is a very, it has been changed a lot over the time. It has started as AVHS, which is Automated Vehicle Highway System. And then it has transformed into many different names. And currently we are calling it ITS, or Smart Mobility Solutions. So in the beginning, I'm talking about 50, 60 years ago, but I'm talking like 2-3 decades ago. That the DOT, Federal Department of Transportation, FHWA and the Federal DOT, they have started this program where they like to try these kind of systems where the vehicles can run on a guided system along the highways. But what happened is that, over the time, what they have realized is that, it is not worth to keep, only one player or two players in the market, but, you have to have public, private sector and academic institutions as well, to play their role in this research and development, side of ITS and smart mobility as well. So over the time, what you see is that they have now realized that as we know about the 5G system as well, that they are trying to allocate some of the bandwidth to the private sector, so that the in the private sector market, people can innovate and come up with different solutions, and do not rely on the DOT as well only. So that's the kind of things that I see. And in terms of the application, I don't know if you have heard much from other speakers, but it has a role in each and every modes of transportation. So when I'm saying that, it's not only limited to private cars. I'm talking about transit services. I'm talking about active transportation, which involves bicycling and, walking, skating, and whatever. And then when it comes to goods movement, so you are talking about commercial vehicles and freight movement as well. So, as we will go along, hopefully I will talk more about it.
Great, great. I mean, thanks for that. And one of the things I do want to go back to some of the things we learned about today with the session on logistics with Kam and Kamil, who I guess ended up being friends, and the idea that, we can extend farm to table to not just the table, the restaurant table, but actually your home table by having these systems deliver from farms right to people's homes. And
exactly. I mean, nowadays, you have more and more devices that are connected to each other. So, and it is growing. So you definitely need, more strong and reliable connectivity. And that's what we are, heading towards.
So Elliot, I know you've been looking at this from a business perspective, both working for very big businesses, but also working for startups. One of the key things is, for all of this transformation to happen, it has to be not only self-funding, but generating efficiencies, not only for governments, but also for companies. Do you have any thoughts on, just because you're on the business side, where the business opportunities are or efficiencies are that will help pay for all of this, kind of given your work? I mean, things that might be new company opportunities, new service opportunities that you've come across your work as you analyze this market.
Yeah, I mean, by definition, systems of this nature have a lot of participants, and partnerships are huge. And I think it was Sadiq who said that, in his experience, it's not just, smart transportation or smart logistics. It's really enabling an ecosystem of partners to work together. And so at Capgemini, their framework was, as you acquire the data, as you aggregate the data, as you analyze the data, as you sign the data, and as you act on the data, you need partnerships, whether they're software, hardware, or master integrators, to enable the flow of information across that stack, not only in a unidirectional way, so up and down, but also left and right in the event it needs to talk to any tangential, horizontally or horizontal related systems. And so in order to make all of that work, you need to have a really clear vision on what the platform looks like, what industry verticals you're going after, which have the most tactical versus strategic return on investments, and get into some really creative commercials. There's a qualification, Francis Smartest City. It was a program that my team worked on at CAP, and it was effectively solved with a partnership between Intel and Capgemini. And what it involved was participation from EDF, which is the power nuclear company, from Suez, which was the municipal water company, the metropolitan government of the government of Dijon metropolitan area, as well as the individual boroughs. They collapsed 7 boroughs into one smart city that had collapsed 7 different fire departments into one, that collapsed 7 different police divisions into one. And ultimately what was required is to look at, the most tactical, high return use case for a connected city, drive hard at it, and then use the carbon takeout or benefit or ROI to reinvest into the platform. And so what ended up happening was, it was a really cool public-private partnership between the city of Dijon Metropole, the energy and water companies, and their technology services partner, which was Capgemini. And so they basically rolled out a smart lighting solution. They retrofit, smart lighting. When you talk about retrofitting, incandescent to LED bulbs, I don't think there's much intelligence in that. But they took the carbon takeout and all the savings to reinvest in the platform to tackle higher, more complex issues, we'll call it, with greater risk.
Great. I mean, that's really insightful. Mike, you've been developing a gateway, which I kind of find interesting, and I think you should share with our audience, that is able to take data from older systems, avionic systems, and put them into machine learning. But the interesting thing about your project is it's actually a generalized solution that can take data from anything and put it across any network, terrestrial and space. And one of the interesting things about the work you're doing, which kind of connects with Sadiq and Elliot, is unlocking the value, right? That is, here's a device. In your case, it could be an airplane, it could be a truck. There's data, but nobody could get to that data. I mean, if you go to a truck, you have to like rip it apart, or, where the work you've done is, putting sensors on older planes, putting sensors on older trucks, unlocking that data, which then allows us to unlock that value at the system level. What Sadiq, can you kind of share with with the audience, kind of specifically some of the technology you've done, which I think is quite interesting, that you can actually get new data from old sources by adding an intelligent gateway. And then, but more importantly, some of the work you've done in unlocking the value, where, looking inside an airplane and or an engine and seeing how the engine is performing.
Sure. Yeah, our gateway is applicable to many different kind of aspects of aviation. And like you said, Junaid, is you can get data off legacy systems and be able to apply that for data analytics and operations and maintenance. So this can apply to things like flight management, flight controls, displays, system maintenance, engine data, any sensors that on an aircraft that are able to get over to our system over maybe a 429 bus or some kind of peripheral interface. You can do that edge analytics in the cloud, or sorry, in the sky on our device. And then if you're connected in the sky, you can get it to the ground and have that maintenance ready to go. Now, often you don't have that connection in the sky and you need to do it on the ground. So the offload of data is super important. So this 5G project we've been working, I can really speed up operations, speed up maintenance, and that's what's ultimately going to have a difference in customer experience. So think like better turnaround times on planes that get to gates, less late airplanes. So I think that's the reality of what our system can do and help enable better transport.
Great. So, Sadiq, I was wondering, we've kind of done the arc where you were providing the system view. Elliot talked about, the business opportunities. Mike actually brought up something specifically he's building, which is a gateway that can connect to any arbitrary device, an airplane, a truck engine, and actually in some ways kind of virtualize it so it can be ingested into a machine learning system that itself might be managing lots of, different devices and systems or systems of systems. I know this is an area you've worked. Can you talk about the kind of your work on the importance, just to what Mike has said, about not just focusing on new autonomous vehicles with supercomputers, but also that you want to pull back the pull forward the existing infrastructure. That it can't be all about buying an electric taxi that's autonomous. A lot of the work Mike has done, which is like, hey, I've got this old truck or this old airplane. I'm still planning to use it for another 20 years. How can I add it to this smart information network, ITS network? And he's created a gateway on kind of that system view of why the work Mike is doing is important. And for all of us to understand, the better world includes all devices, new and old, smart, and as Elliot mentioned, passive. He brought up, these light bulbs, they don't have any intelligence, but we want the system, the smart system, to be able to manage all of this, including older systems.
Yes. And this is interesting, like as I mentioned before, that when it was controlled solely by the public sector, the DOT, it was going very slow. And when you have invited like the private sector into this playground, then things have speed up, and you have seen a lot of innovation coming at a like a light speed. And what you see nowadays is mainly I would say a contribution from the private sector because of the nature of their how they provide service. And I mean, like, you know, nowadays the same thing is like, you know, you have the autonomous vehicle, you know, available, but do you have the infrastructure where you can run that autonomous vehicle? And do you have all the supporting, you know, infrastructure in terms of roadside equipment and all that, sensors and everything that can help you to connect not only you know, the, you know, like the vehicle to infrastructure, but also, you know, communicate with you know, other entities as well. So that's why we see that, you know, the importance of this 5G technology coming up. And as Elliot has mentioned about having a partnership. So what you see nowadays is the value in the public private partnership. And you know, what is happening is that, you know, you have the public sector who is basically owning and managing this infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, or you can call it transportation asset. And you have the private sector who is not only developing you know, new technology and working on it, but also deploying and, you know, financing for it. So, you know, that goes hand in hand. And these things are like, you know, progressing rapidly because of that.
So no, that's a great point. So Elliot, kind of the last word from you, and then to Mike. You know, Sadiq just kind of mentioned the importance in these big projects that there are really partnerships between public government entities and private companies, some of whom might be startups, and would be great to get your insight on the, just kind of building on Sadiq, on the necessity of that it has to be a win for government. This can't be just government saying, hey, you finance it all, or you know, the vice versa, the startup saying, hey, you know, you give us all the money and we'll do it, right? It's got to be shared risks, shared upside.
Yeah, I mean, you can get really granular on the levers that you're analyzing in any solution. If it's a smart water solution in a smart building environment, then maybe they're saving tax. Maybe that building, the asset owner is saving taxes on the amount of water that they use after their consumption goes down. The government sees a reduction in their tax revenue base. And the building profits, there has to be some sort of thought to the creative commercials and the revenue split or profit share or cost takeout share that these solutions afford. And I think that it's also driven by, it's highly driven by the application and the requirements of the application and the connectivity requirements of the application. That needs to be sorted out first before you can really solve for the creative commercials, because you won't have your cost inputs figured out.
Great. And then kind of the last word from you, Mike, on kind of what you see as the importance of these systems, you know, from your perspective, to work at the individual level, which could be an airplane or an engine, with the macro level to unlock the value. Or the necessity of that.
Bring a little bit different subject there, Junaid, is what I see happening in aviation is we have the invention of AAM and UAM. So these air taxis and things that are getting developed at rapid pace, and it's just super exciting in aviation. What I think really the focus has to be on is three things. It's infrastructure. So that's digital information management. We've got to find ways in cities to be able to get tunnels in the sky, map our airports, ensure that we have the safety and quality that we know that these vehicles can actually fly in the air. So things like we're doing in the IoT gateway apply to that vertical as well. And there's lots to do with connectivity to support stuff like ADAS cars that with vision systems. So planes are going to have the same thing. They need stuff like that. So connectivity, energy for electric propulsion systems. Sorry, I'm kind of going all over, but I think it's really exciting time.
Great. No, thanks for that. So thanks to all our panelists. This was kind of quite insightful. It kind of requires a conference on its own right, because we're talking about big systems and how these systems interact. And I think what Sadiq kind of said was kind of interesting, which is the public partnership and the financing aspect. that, we have to make sure that all players win-win, just not technically, but also financially, which I think is key. So thank you all for being a part of this. We now have our kind of last little presentation in the Indiana 5G zone. And then encourage you to stay, we are going to give away an iPad. So typically the person who wins the iPad is the person who can type the fastest. We did this the last time. It's kind of fun. I would lose for sure just because I am a slow typer. But with that,
thank you. I just wanted to say thanks, Junaid, because you have asked very easy questions. I mean, like what Kelby has asked me is, I was ready for tough questions, but you have made it very easy for us. So thank you so much for that.
Well, it's easy. Kelby is much smarter than me. So.
I mean, if you have a minute, I can, share one example, and like participants can understand the value of 5G and how it relates to smart city or smart mobility. And this is from US, where Verizon is deploying a traffic management system in the city of Sacramento. So basically, they are installing intrusive and non-intrusive sensors in the pavement and street lights. And what it does is it provides you better information to local authorities, how the traffic is flowing and all that kind of stuff. And what Verizon is saying that it believes that it can reduce the car idle time by 44%, and CO2 emission reduction, and those kind of good things that come out of all these advanced system implementations. So definitely there is a value, and we are seeing that these valuable things are unfolding in front of us.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I think being stuck in traffic less is something everybody can understand, right? Because it just wastes energy. There's no benefit being stuck at a red light. There's no benefit being stuck in slow traffic.
I mean, I'm happy as a traffic transportation engineer because people always ask me about traffic signals. So now I have better answers for them, and in real time.
Now. Yeah. Thanks to our panelists, and then I think we're going to cut our feed to the Indiana 5G zone where Mike is standing, and I think Brian or Sean is going to speak with Barbara. So thanks again for our panelists, and for our viewers, stay on for the free iPad.